Hi, and welcome to Elevator English. My name is Mike, and Elevator English is an English language learning resource which is designed to help you improve your professional English. You can watch this video to practice your listening skills and get examples of natural, real English in conversation. Also, if you go to the website elevatorenglish.com, you can find a super useful test which will test your understanding on this video and give you feedback on your English. In this conversation, you're going to hear lots of examples of the present perfect, especially have been phrases. If you want more information about that grammar and how to use it in your spoken English, then go to the website elevatorenglish.com. Today, we'll be talking to a very good friend of mine, Dan. Dan has been teaching English for as long as I have been, which is quite a long time. And he's also worked with animal charities and he's doing some content writing as well. So he's a busy, busy guy. He'll be talking to us about working abroad, the challenges of that, his experiences, and some other stuff. So without any further ado, let's get started. Hi, Dan. How have you been?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, I've been really good. We've just moved house into a new place, as you can see.
Very nice.
Buying things. We've got a new sofa that we just got secondhand.
So you're fully situated into the house now. You're all moved in.
We are 95% situated into the house.
Perfect. Perfect. So you've been working outside of the UK now for a long time, right?
Yeah, I've been working outside the UK for 10 years. It's almost exactly 10 years since I first left the UK when I was a mere kid of 29 or 30 years old. Yeah, and since then I've been working all over the place.
Right. Yeah, because you've worked in Hungary. That's when you and I met.
Yeah,
and
Budapest.
Yeah.
My first job was in the Middle East, so I worked in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. After that, I moved to Japan, to Tokyo for a year. With a short stop off in the Czech Republic, and then to Hungary, where we met in Budapest. We worked together there for a few years, and then I came back to Bahrain, and that's where I am now.
Perfect, mate. So how's that been? How's that been kind of living outside of the UK, working outside of the UK? Have you enjoyed it for the most part?
Yeah, I think every place I've been, I've enjoyed. I think you throw yourself into every place that you go, and I mean, obviously there's the honeymoon period where you're getting to know everything and looking at bridges and going, wow, and then you get to know a few people and you get to sort of settle in. So obviously when we were in Budapest, we had a really good friendship group and we did a lot of things, and I wouldn't say we became Hungarian, but we learned at least
not for lack of trying though, right?
We tried our best, but it was nagyon nehez. I think it's very, very difficult. But yeah, it was great, and I think that's the same everywhere. And then you get to the point where you kind of feel that you settle somewhere, and then all the things that annoy the locals start to annoy you, and then you know that you've settled properly.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this recently and I was wondering, would it have been the same 10 years ago? I think now, because everything's moved online, everyone's teaching online. How do you think it's changed things now? Do you think it's easier for someone in the UK to work abroad, or is it more the case that you just don't need to? You don't need to travel now to get English teaching jobs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that would involve a bit of getting up in the middle of the night, time zone kind of thing. But I think, yeah, I always preferred being in the place that I was teaching. I think that for starters, you get to know a bit of the first language and how that affects their English learning. So we were in Hungary together, for example. We were teaching mainly Hungarian students, but we were living in Hungary as well. So we started to learn how the Hungarian language affected the English language, and then we could spot the common mistakes that, for example, in Hungary they don't have a word for he or she; it's just one word. So people mix up that in English. And word order is really flexible in Hungarian, so people would make all sorts of mistakes with English. And I think living in the country, you just pick that up a bit quicker. And also culturally, I mean, you get a sense for the country. But obviously, if you're teaching mixed groups of students, that wouldn't matter as much, and it wouldn't be as much of an issue. So
I was wondering about this because I mean, you and I have both faced a lot of challenges living and working abroad, right? So, for example, especially things like Brexit as well, having to register and get residency, filing taxes, financing, setting up bank accounts, so on, so on, so on. I think
do you pay taxes?
Yes,
no.
absolutely.
We always paid our taxes, of course. I'm joking, of course.
But yeah, I think it's just there's obvious challenges about physically being in a place. For me,
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned, preferring to teach in the place, because I think if you spoke to me 3 years ago pre-COVID, I would have 100% said the same. I would have, no, I can't do what I do if I'm not in a classroom. And now I think since that time, after I've become more accustomed with teaching online, for example, at the moment, I'm currently, hopefully, maybe it'll change, but I'm not teaching anyone in Portugal, but I'm able to live in Portugal and teach people in Poland, Hungary, Spain, and so on and so on. So I think I'm wondering what you wonder. What do you think? Is it, when you consider the challenges of physically being in another country and having to go through the whole process of registering and so on, versus the ease of kind of teaching online, do you think it's worth the challenge? Because of course, as you said, you get to be in another place, integrate into another culture. Do the pros outweigh the cons, do you think?
Well, I think it depends what you're getting into teaching for. I think a lot of English teachers get into it for the travel and for the fact that they can go to different places. But when the pandemic came along, we were in Hungary at the time, obviously, and we switched to online classes straight away. And then I don't think it affected the teaching part too much. Of course, there were some issues, but I kind of really got to enjoy teaching online. And once you worked out how to do it, that was the first bit. I'd never taught online before the pandemic. But as soon as we worked out how to do it, it was actually quite intuitive and quite natural, especially with motivated students. I don't know what it would be like if you were a high school teacher or a secondary school teacher. I imagine that would be a nightmare.
Absolutely.
But when you're teaching people who want to learn, I thought it was fine. It was great. I do think it was helped by the fact that we'd already been teaching in person. But once again, if you're teaching people from mixed backgrounds, I don't think that would matter. From my personal point of view, I started teaching because of the traveling part. So if that's not the reason you're going into English teaching, I don't think that would make any difference. I think you'd be fine teaching from anywhere and teaching anyone.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Dan. Just before I let you go, would you give any advice to any English teachers who are looking to get out there and do what you've done?
I think the first step is the hardest, and then you realize that the world's quite small and you can quite easily move anywhere. When I first moved abroad, I thought, wow, this is the big thing. It's gonna be so difficult, and how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna adjust? And then within a few months, you're fine, and then you start looking at job vacancies all over the world and thinking, yeah, I could do that, and you stop thinking of it as like a big thing. When I was back home, people moving towns was like you'd say goodbye to them forever, like bye, see you later. But then you realize that that's ridiculous because you can move the other side of the world. And
Yeah,
I still have friends, loads of friends from back home, and I live, on the other side of the world. So it's not a big deal.
Well, thank you very much, mate, for taking the time and for all the fantastic insight.
No problem. It's nice to catch up with you.
So, how much did you understand? You think you know it all? Well, why don't you head over to the website, elevatorenglish.com, and take the test, challenge yourself, see how much you really understood. Love it. There should be a link in the comments below, or if you're already there, you're at the website, this is it, it's happening, then somewhere down below, you'll find the quiz. Hopefully, if I've built the website correctly. If you found this video useful and you want more, or you just liked it, whatever, then please like, subscribe, leave a comment, all the social media jazz, and I will, make more. I'm going to make more anyway, but it would mean a lot to me to get your support. So good luck with the test and your English learning, and I will see you on the other side. Bye.